Hello, everyone. Welcome back to mine and Justin's channel. This is episode 2 of our podcast. We were just discussing that we need to come up with a name for this thing, and so we need your guys' help with that. We need some good recommendations. I don't want to see 8 people saying Chicago hockey, Chicago hockey,
2.0.
Chicago hockey radio podcast. I don't know, give us some good recs because we're going to be doing these more frequently. And we need a name. We can't just keep doing episode. I mean, we can add episode numbers to every single episode, but we need something a little bit better than that, a little bit more to signify that these are not normal videos on our channels, that there are collab podcasts that we're doing. So let us know in the comments. And yeah, I think that's all I've got to say on that. Justin, it's been a few days since we've talked. How are you?
Very good. No, good to be back here for sure. Just got back from my little mini road trip to a Raleigh, North Carolina. So that was a good time there. That was a hell of a game, man. Like you could not ask for a better game. Absolute cinema. Oliver Moore, man, that's my boy, man. That's my absolute boy. And just love to see him get his little revenge there. I mean, just truly a legacy game from him from all points of view, man. Obviously, got his revenge after that fight and that shootout winner. That was pretty special. That he had the blood all over his face, too. Like, oh, man, like that's what hockey's all about. And a less cinematic game yesterday, but, whatever. We'll get into that. But no, overall, doing well. Good to be back and looking forward to episode 2 here. Yeah.
Let's first of all, good to hear that you're doing well. Let's talk about the last couple games. I didn't really get to watch the game last night.
You didn't miss much.
Yeah, and that's kind of the vibe I got. It looks like they kind of got outshot. Soderblom played well. Not a ton of crazy chances for either team back and forth. I watched the highlights, so I got like a brief synopsis of it. And then overtime looked like we had a couple of really good chances that maybe should have won the game off of. And then in the shootout,
Yeah, Soda's been struggling in the shootout. That's definitely where we missed the night. It was definitely, I mean, it was one of his better games of the year. Definitely the best game we've seen from him in a long time. So you would like to see him come away with it. But you could definitely tell they're playing in a back-to-back there. I think that Carolina game definitely took a lot out of them. I mean, that one win in a shootout as well. They're just getting back in Chicago the next day. The very cold Chicago. Apparently Chicago is like the coldest city in the world right now. Did you know that, Lee?
I believe it. I didn't know that as a fact, but like walking outside, I can't imagine there's a colder city in the world than Chicago right now. It's like my mustache and nostrils are freezing into icicles upon exiting my apartment. It's terrible. It's terrible. So I didn't know that, but I believe it.
Yeah, no. So I'm just staying cooped up in the house. So that's why I had to get the hell out of here for a little bit just to see some warmer weather. But now we're back, and but it'll be easy. We got the 24 hours of Daytona Motorsports race today, so we'll just be watching that instead. But yeah, no. Getting back to the Blackhawks here, no. I mean, definitely not the most cinematic game of all time, but hey, I think in a back-to-back, you're playing 2 first-place teams in the East. You get 3 out of possible 4 points. I think you could feel pretty good about that. Yeah.
I feel like if there's like a silver lining or a bright spot really that I'm looking at right now, especially after these past 2 performances, it feels like the team is defending much better as a group. Like it feels like, and again, I didn't watch the most of the Tampa game yesterday, but against Carolina, it does feel like they're doing a better job in their own zone. And yeah, they've gotten outshot in the past 2 games by like a pretty large margin. I think that should be expected when you're playing these 2 teams, especially Carolina, who's like a volume shooting team. They love their shots from the perimeter, but it does feel like the group as a whole has been doing a good job of limiting like really good high danger chances and keeping a lot of the looks from the outside. And when you've got Spencer Knight in net, you got to feel comfortable like getting outshot in games, especially if you're, limiting a lot of those shots to the outside, because you got to feel like Spencer Knight is going to save all the ones he should. Do you kind of agree with that? That like, I don't know. I just like you mentioned how like it looked like they were on the second half of back-to-back last night, but this season, when they're on the second half of a back-to-back, they get pumped. They lose by multiple goals.
Yeah.
And so when I look back and see those highlights and like not a ton of chances for Tampa that are like really good, and then you had an opportunity to win in overtime, you can kind of like feel good about that. No, like that
Yeah.
they're making improvements in that way.
Yeah, early in the year, I mean, we were getting killed in those back-to-backs, so now, like, we're at least making a game of them, so I think you could feel pretty good about that for sure. Yeah, no, but I think just getting a point in yesterday's game, like, that felt like a win. Just getting the overtime felt like a win. It's like, there's no way we're gonna take back-to-back here, especially that loaded Tampa team. Like, you kind of had a feeling it was gonna end that way, but yeah, I think just getting a point was a win. And yeah, I think this team's come a long way defensively. I think even Blashill talked about that, where I think early in the year, sometimes they let those games get away from them, but now I think they're kind of limiting those grade A's and kind of, keeping them more to the outside, like you said. So, which again, those are shots that, even Soda can make those stops. And we saw that yesterday.
Yeah.
So, I think just improvements from that regard, more structured play. I think we've seen that out of this team, which again, if this team wants to make, the playoffs, I think if they're going to be in the playoffs, like that's the way you're going to have to play if you want to achieve any success. Right. So, I think as the season goes along, I think it's good to see them make those strides because that's the way pretty much the majority of, those types of quality teams play. So, yeah.
Yeah, especially down the stretch. Like these games are just going to be getting more important, more competitive.
Mhm.
They're going to be tighter checking. So you're probably going to be seeing lower scoring games, and so seeing them do well in these types of games is a positive sign. And yeah,
Mhm.
I completely agree. And it's not even just for this season. It's for like the future as well. You need, I know they have a bunch of exciting, fast, young players, but you need to be able to play well in those tight checking defensive
Mhm.
games. You need to be able to protect the lead, which they didn't necessarily do against Carolina, but they did against Winnipeg a few nights ago. So I think all those experiences, having them now is a very good thing for this group. And I do want to get into like Olympic stuff with you. I want to get into trade deadline stuff with you. There's 6 games until the Olympic break, and then I think there's like 4 games after the Olympic break, and then there's the trade deadline on March 6th. But before we get into that stuff, I want to get your assessment and your thoughts on Jeff Blashill
Mhm.
this far this season. We didn't talk about it in the first episode we did. I think he's done a tremendous job with the deck of cards he's been dealt. I guess what is your letter grade for him this far? And then
Mhm.
maybe like expand on it a little bit and like say some positives or negatives or whatever you think about him.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like just based on expectations going the year, this should be an easy A, but I don't want to make it that easy because there are some criticisms as well. I think probably a B plus. I'm not quite going to give him the A grade, but I think B plus is probably where I'd put it at. Definitely compared to past Blackhawks coaches that we've seen, pretty
Yeah.
much every single one since Joel Quimble. And for
Yes.
that, A plus, like he gets an A plus compared to
Yeah.
those guys. But I think the bar was extremely low, so I think at the
Mm.
very you expect him to raise that bar, and he
Yep.
has. Look, Blackhawks team right now is almost exactly 500, 51 games into the year. We've already achieved more points at 50 than we have the past 3, 4 years combined, and that's with this Blackhawks team where we haven't even seen all of these young guys of the future core show up yet. We're still waiting on a lot of them. I think, like I said in the first, post that we did. Like I think the season has already gone, more to plan than I think we would have expected. I think we're already further along than we would have thought at this rate. So I think you can feel pretty good about that. And I think like from what we've seen lately, I think with that structure, I think a big credit goes to Jeff Blashill there. That's a big reason why Kyle Davidson hired him. It's just I think he's a coach who kind of has those that defensive knowledge. I think we saw it in Tampa as well, in Detroit. Didn't have a chance to show it in Detroit, but I think with Tampa, he had a good team around him, and that was a strong defensive team while he was there. But I think he's a coach that's able to kind of get your team back to playing, basic foundational hockey, get back to playing with strong habits. I think, especially a guy like Connor Bedard, with the way his defensive game has come this year, I think he deserves big credit for that as well. And not just him, I think the entire coaching staff, like he has a good staff around him too, which we haven't seen in past years. So I think that's been a big help to this team. But yeah, I think overall that's a long drink of water just to say I think B plus is
No.
probably where I put it at. I'm not quite gonna give him an A because there are some things I've seen with him that I critiqued of past Blackhawks coaches as well. I think in-game adjustments is a big one, right? I think from
Yeah.
period to period, sometimes it doesn't look like the same team, and that's something we saw last year as well, especially under Luke Richardson, where it's like it felt like from period to period it just didn't quite look like the same team. And he's almost the opposite of Richardson, where it's like with past Hawks coaches, like we'd see different line combinations every single game. With Blashill, it seems like he likes to stick with the same ones, even when they're not working for an extended period. I think the main critique right now is just we're continuing to put Ryan Green and Andre Burakovsky with Bedard, and I
Yeah.
don't really get why we're sticking with that combination. I think it's quite clearly not working right now. Like Bedard's game hasn't quite been where I probably want to be right now. I think yes, he missed a month. I think he's still getting used to it. I'm not convinced he's fully healthy right now, too. I think he maybe needs that Olympic break. But yeah, I just think Green and Burakovsky with him just not quite working right now. I think, he had such good chemistry for Bertuzzi earlier the year. I don't know why we haven't just gone back to that. And Burakovsky right now, I think he's going to be playing for the Shanghai Dragons pretty soon because he's been struggling a bit of late, but hopefully he can get his game back. But and yeah, like I like Ryan Green, but just like why are we like so committed to play him in the first line? I don't understand. So yeah, there are some things there that I'd like to see better, but yeah, very long ramble to say B plus, I think, for Jeff Blashill.
No, I think that's great. The only thing I'm sad about with that ramble is because you said so many good things that I want to go back and talk about, and
Sure.
and I've got to think about them. First thing, well, I agree with that last point. I'll start with that. It is the complete inverse of the Luke Richardson, Anders Sorensen experience, where we're getting so much consistency to the lines that it's almost too much consistency. And I completely agree about like the in-game adjustment stuff. And I think it kind of goes hand in hand with the consistency of playing the same guys together over and over again. Is like there are games where this team just doesn't have it through the first two periods. And it's like you should go in that second intermission before the third period. If your team just does not have it in those first two periods, you should be mixing up the lines.
Yeah.
You shouldn't go into the third period with the exact same forward group structured the same way. And we've seen that multiple times this year. And I completely agree. Like if that first line is struggling, put Bertuzzi up there, put Frank Nazar up there. Like why have we not seen that at all? And my chat on these live streams are constantly clamoring for Frank Nazar to be played with Connor Bedard. And honestly, like I completely understand that from the organization standpoint. Frank Nazar is the 2C, Connor Bedard is the 1C. They are the two forwards that they are building this team around. They are the two players that this team is being built around. Some people don't like really acknowledge that or realize that, but I think it's so clear and obvious given the Frank Nazar contract this summer. Given the fact that they staple him to that second line center position, like he is the guy going forward. So when I see Blackhawks fans saying like, oh, should maybe this guy play like second line center? Frank Nazar is going to be the second line center unless a draft pick comes in over the next year or two that is just so much obviously better than Frank Nazar at the center position. Frank Nazar is the 2C of the future, but that doesn't mean that in a game where you're struggling couple periods in, you can't go nuclear and put Bedard and Nazar together. We'd see it with the Dynasty Hawks. Justin, how often, like anytime the Blackhawks were struggling, Dynasty Hawks, you're getting Taves and Kane together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially if they're down the third period, you'd see it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Which separating Kane and Taves work well because that's what made those Dynasty Hawks so special. It's like you just never had a break into an opposition. You always have a deal with at least one of those core seven guys on the ice at the same time. Keith would play half the game too, so you never escape from him and Siebes. And then I got a deal with Haas and Sharp as well. And all these just mammoths. So, but yeah, like if you're down late in the game, like why not put Bedard and Nazar together? They've shown that chemistry right. You're still seeing the power play too. Although I think they've split them up now. I think Nazar's in the second unit now. But yeah, like I don't understand why late in the game you can't put them together. I don't get why we haven't been doing that.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair criticism. But then the other point that you said, like if you compare Jeff Blashill to the past three Blackhawks coaches, it's night and day. It is A+.
Yeah.
He has been so much better, and like literally everything, like even like maybe unrelated, like less important stuff, like the way he talks to the media, the way he defends his players to the media, the way he sticks up for players behind the bench, barking at referees over bad calls, like A++ for all that shit for Jeff Blashill. Like
he's animated the bench too. He's animated. He's always
it's like it's like that's like really important for fans. I think that's something that doesn't get talked about as much is like fans want to see a coach that's like that fired up and that passionate and cares that much. Because
even like he's on the ice as well.
Yeah. And even if it's like you have a more chill guy like Luke Richardson or Anders Sorensen, it's still like puts a bad taste in a fan's mouth when I'm sitting here and I'm raging about a call. I'm getting frustrated about something. And then they show the camera on the coach and he's just calm, cool, collected, looking content with what's going on.
Yeah,
like that is frustrating.
Yeah.
And so I think all that stuff, Jeff Blashill gets A+. I think he, gets the best out of guys he clearly gets the best hockey out of Tyler Bertuzzi. It's not just the young guys that we've seen the most progression with this far. Like, obviously, yes, we saw a massive jump in play from Connor Bedard. We've seen we've seen these young defensemen improving as the year goes on. I think this is the most improvement I've seen from Alex Vlasic and Louis Crevier. Louis Crevier has a smaller sample size, but Alex
Big
Vlasic,
Lou.
I think this is the best improvement we've seen in a short time in his career. And so I think Jeff Blashill deserves all the credit for that stuff, but it's also the veteran players as well. But I agree. I think there's a couple criticisms, and I would have maybe said A-, but I'm with you there. B+, A-. I think that's totally fair. I think that's exactly like how we should be looking at a coach for the Chicago Blackhawks, because that bar was so low, and it just shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that low. I know we're in a rebuild, but the bar shouldn't be that low for a coach. All these other things that I'm talking about, a coach should still be able to do. And the coaches that the Blackhawks have had over the past 3 or so years haven't done those things.
Yeah, we're comparing them to ChatGPT, Anders Sorensen,
Dude.
Derek King, Jeremy Colleton, and Luke Richardson. So,
oh my gosh, I forgot about Colleton. How could you let me forget about Colleton? I was just thinking about fucking King and Sorensen and Richardson. Colleton was the worst
the
of the
backstory
bunch.
behind him, right? Like, I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for Jeremy Colleton. That's how bad he was. Like, that's what inspired me to start my account in the first place.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I think Blashill, like, he clearly has the respect of the room, which I think that was something you could question, I think, with some past Blackhawks coaches. I mean, well, it definitely wasn't McCallum. I think Kane and Taves are effectively the coach of those teams.
Yeah.
But I think Blashill clearly has the respect of the room. I think it shows just in the way they play for him. Yeah.
I agree. All right, let's pivot here to, let's do Olympic talk, and then let's do trade deadline talk. We're gonna keep the focus here on the US and Canada rosters. Sorry to our Swedish and Finnish listeners.
Couldn't wait to talk about Latvia. Oh.
Yeah, we're not gonna do 10 minutes on Czechia today. I'm sorry to all of our Czech fans. Let's start with Team USA. I do have this lineup pulled up. I guess I can just pull this up right now. Most notable, like, recent news with this, and I know this, that me and Justin are both fully aware that this information's been out for a little while, but we haven't talked about it together, so we're going to do that. Most recent development here is, where is he? Jackson Lacombe coming in for the injured Seth Jones. Look, man, this defensive core, I want to talk about the D core first for Team USA. You notice here, there are only 2 right shot defensemen in the defensive core. Now that Jones is out, Jones is also a right shot guy. Lacombe is not. Lacombe's a left shot guy. Is that an issue for you? Are you concerned? Is there maybe a different guy that you would have thought they would have brought in? I think Adam Fox is still on IR. Lane Hutson's another guy that people have, kind of clamored about, but Lane Hutson's also a left shot. How do you feel about this defensive core so far for Team USA?
Well, first of all, just that's unfortunate for Seth Jones, man, that we missed out on the Olympics. It just really, you hate to see that. I'm just
you
playing.
Hater.
I'm just playing. But yeah, definitely an interesting decision there. Maybe Lacombe's a solid defenseman, but like that's the first guy they had on the list there is the replacement. I don't know. Lane Hutson. I understand that they think, okay, you already have a better version of that in Quinn Hughes, so we don't need Lane there. I know Fox had a rough 4 Nations, but he's still one of the best defensemen in the league. I mean, if he's not going to be healthy, that's fair enough. But still, I think, if he's available, I'd still send him there. I wouldn't leave him at home. But yeah, the defensive core there. I mean, Faber, again, another guy. I'm not sure if that's one of the best 7 American defensemen we have to offer, but yeah, I don't know. I'm a little concerned. I'm not going to lie. Just look at this D core here. There's a lot to like, but just I don't know. I feel like there are definitely some better decisions we could have made there.
I think Brock Faber, his performance at 4 Nations was so solid playing with Slavin. And I know a bunch of the analytic nerds on Twitter are he actually wasn't that good. It's dude, I watched him play fucking 25 minutes in a 4 Nations game. He was good. He was good. I don't need to hear about how Brock Faber's I don't know. I'm more concerned about Noah Hannafin. I don't know if that was the guy. At that point, if Noah Hannafin isn't going to be starting, wouldn't you maybe rather a guy like Lane Hutson there just as a potential option? And I get keeping Lane Hutson at home, the size I think the defensive criticism is fair, regardless of what the analytics say. Like when I watch him play, I watch him get out muscled. I watch him get beat. Like I see it happen with my own eyes. Maybe do I watch every single Montreal Canadiens game? No. But when I do, am I like, wow, this defenseman is impossible to beat? No, not at all. And so when you've got Quinn Hughes, who's going to obviously be on the first power play unit, and then you've got Zach Werenski, who's obviously going to be on the second power play unit. What is Lane Hutson's role? Are you going to play him very limited minutes as a third pairing guy, not manning either power play unit? It just doesn't really make sense. I think the only reason why you make an argument for him is you have him as that like eighth defenseman if Quinn Hughes goes down or gets sick or something. The Hughes family, things happen with them. Maybe you have Lane Hutson as a replacement. Then I'd understand that. But I just think Jackson Lacombe is bigger, stronger, more reliable in his own end. It makes more sense for me from that standpoint. And then
clearly they should have said Alex Vlasic there. I'm just kidding.
Dude, I mean, like Alex Vlasic could do a job for you defensively, but you want the mix of defensive defensemen and offensive players. I think Lacombe is a good mix. And then Fox has got to be injured. Like Fox is, they have to have questions about his health, because if not, with Chris Drury and Mike Sullivan, like if Fox is going to be okay for the Olympics, and they're like, you know what, yeah, we're going to bring Jackson Lacombe, a left shot guy, over Fox after already slighting him from the original
that's
8.
Insane.
If that's the case, I don't know how Adam Fox would want to stay a New York Ranger. Like that is shocking to me and makes no sense. So it's got to be an injury thing, but I still do think that overall this United States decor is better than the Team Canada decor. Forward group, I mean,
this is where I have more question marks at. This is where I have more question marks.
And so like JT Miller, Vinny Trocheck, Brock Nelson, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, just the amount of talent we have. I mean, Alex DeBrincat, Cole Caulfield, Jason Robertson. Where is Jason Robertson? Like, what are we doing here? He has 60 points, for crying out loud. That's the main concern with me. If this feels like, this reminds me a lot of the 2016 World Cup of Hockey, where it just feels like we're completely overthinking this, man, where it's like it goes back to the 1980 philosophy. Oh, it's about picking the right players, not the best players. But it's like we're in 2026 here, Lee. We're in 2026. Like we're not selecting from a pool of college players here. This is NHL level talent. We're trying to go up against Canada.
Superstars. It's not even NHL talent. We're talking superstar, like Jason Robertson. Justin, that's for me is like the most mind-boggling thing is Jason Robertson, because it's like I understand if you're concerned about his like checking ability, the forecheck ability, the defensive ability, but is like Clayton Keller that much better than him defensively that we're like no, like Jason Robertson can't come, who's like leading the NHL in goals, but Clayton like what? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, it's not consistent. It's not consistent. It's just like, I just don't think you can, when you're trying to go up toe-to-toe against Canada, that loaded team, like you can't afford to leave some of your best talent at home. I don't think you can afford to do it. I know they want to keep their roster kind of similar to that Four Nations team, in which
but you lost.
Them. Yeah, but you lost. Like you didn't beat them. So I don't know. So I think stick at that same philosophy of like, sending these players there. Hey, I understand that the Trochecks, the Nelsons, and it just doesn't make sense.
Maybe one or two of them. Like I understand if you need penalty killers, you need guys that can play fourth line. You need guys that you can feel okay scratching and they're not going to make a fuss. I understand that. Do you need 3 of them?
No, you don't.
Like I can just see this team losing a close game against Canada. And it's like, man, if they could score one more goal, it's going to be so easy to just be like, how are you leaving Jason Robertson home? How are you leaving Jason Robertson home?
I'm concerned, Lee. I'm honestly concerned.
And I will say the only thing that kind of makes me feel better a little bit is because Hockey Canada has a couple of the same situations, which I'll pull up right now.
I wonder if there's any particular one that you're thinking of.
There is one in particular that I'm thinking of that we'll talk about first. Look, Braden Point there's question marks there. He has not played. He is still injured. It is very likely that he cannot go. Another guy, where is he? Where's Bo? Where's Bo?
Horvat?
Bo here missed a lot of games. I think he's back now. But that's like he missed like okay, I didn't mean to click on Bo Horvat's profile. He missed a bunch of games too, and it's like is he going to be at his best level? In a couple weeks time. I don't understand how Connor Bedard is not on this team, and I will say.
Egregious.
If I'm going to bring up the Bo Horvat injury, I guess it is only fair to talk about Connor Bedard's injury, which they clearly stated had nothing to do with their decision-making process of leaving him home. But he is one of these extra guys that maybe be brought up. I could totally see them bringing Sam Bennett, though, instead of him. Is that crazy? Like,
yeah,
if Braden Point can't go.
I think Bedard makes more sense as injury replacement. I think if it was Bo Horvat they're replacing, I think Bennett would probably make sense. But like if you're replacing, a guy like Braden Point, like I think Bedard, that's your ideal replacement right there. But I could totally see them going with the more boring option. And Bennett was there in the Four Nations team last year as well. To be fair, he was very good in that tournament. But again, like I think we talked about this a lot in the first episode. But yeah, like Bedard not being there in this tournament is just an absolute travesty. It's an absolute travesty. And I'm hoping that comes back to bite Canada when it matters. But unfortunately, Team USA made some diabolical decisions as well. So we shall see which ones turn out to be the worst.
Yeah, and the thing that everyone says is like, oh, will Bedard be able to play a bottom six role? Bedard should go, and he shouldn't be in a bottom six role. There are not 6 Canadian forwards that are better at playing offense than Connor Bedard. It's just not true. It's just not true. Connor Bedard is amongst the 6 best offensive players that the country of Canada has to offer.
I know, right? I mean, what? McKinnon, McDavid, Crosby, Celebrini, Bedard. Who's the number 6?
Maybe Mitch up there. Like that's probably your 6. Yeah, that's probably your 6. Like Braden Point can be your third line center. Like Connor Bedard should be in your top 6. You should be playing Connor Bedard with a Nathan McKinnon or a Connor McDavid. Like you should be playing him with those guys. You shouldn't have him on your 4th line with Tom Wilson and Mark Stone or Brad Marchand or Anthony Cirelli. Like those are your bottom 6 players. Connor Bedard is not a bottom 6 talent. He's just not. Even on arguably the best forward group in the world in Hockey Canada. He's not a bottom 6 player. So I think it's crazy. I think leaving off Sam Bennett is crazy. Like I know Coop obviously had a say in Cirelli. It's just crazy that you would leave Sam Bennett off. The Conn Smythe winner literally scored a goal in the gold medal game at the Four Nations tournament against Team USA, and you leave that guy off for Anthony Cirelli. Like it's just kind of shocking to me. And so that makes me feel better about Team USA's group is because you do have a bunch of those questions here with Canada. Does that make you feel a little better too? That like they've got a couple things that if they lose, it's going to be easy to be like, you really left Bedard at home?
Yeah, a little bit. I feel like the Bedard is the egregious one, but I feel like after that, Bennett, you could question it, but I feel like there's less question marks, I feel like, with this team compared to USA. I just feel like their firepower as well. I would take that over us as well. I feel like with Canada, you could probably afford to make more of those mistakes because you just have so much talent. We do too, but I feel like with us, it's like with USA's roster, like you can't really afford. You got to get it perfectly right. I feel like with Canada, like they're so loaded, like they could probably afford to have some of those questionable calls. Maybe I'm wrong there. But yeah, I feel like theirs are a little less questionable versus us. Besides Bedard, yeah,
I do. I will say maybe that is because we're USA hockey fans and we care more.
So we're
about
being more critical.
We're being more critical. Yeah. Like if I was a Hockey Canada fan, I would not be happy that Colton Parayko and Drew Doughty are going to be in my defensive core. That would not please me.
Yeah, now that I'm looking at this, no, I definitely think we have. I think we clear defense, we clear goaltending, but man, just their forward group is so absolutely loaded. That's what scares me. Not that ours is fine as well, but I just don't know if there's quite enough there. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Okay, I think that's good for Olympic talk for now. I'm sure we'll do more Olympic talk as it gets closer and as we get there. We'll do a couple a couple things together during the Olympic
Oh
break,
yeah,
I
we'll
think.
definitely have to do some streams, especially
Yeah,
if we see a USA Canada gold medal game,
yeah.
which hopefully we see that. I think we will see that. I think we
I'm
will
very
see that.
down for that.
Yeah.
All right. I wanna talk a little trade deadline talk. We're at 30 minutes. We can go for a little bit more time. At the trade deadline coming up March 6th, I'm assuming we're going to probably maybe see some action before the Olympic break, and then it'll really happen after the Olympic break. Do you want to see the Chicago Blackhawks be buyers at the deadline? Do you want to see them be sellers? Do you want them to stand pat and not make any moves? What would you like to see? What are you kind of expecting from the Hawks?
I think for me, it's kind of just making way for the next wave. I think that's the like. I don't think the Hawks need to go out there. I know there's. I've seen a lot of Blackhawks fans like, oh, we got to bring back Panair and like that. Like that's not going to happen. I think for me, it's like shipping out these guys that part of this core team right now. They just don't think we really need anymore. I think on expiring contracts. I think the guys like the Jason Dickinsons, the Connor Murphys. Guys like that, Foligno, if there's interest in him, like I think those are guys who could ship off and make way for the next, wave of talent approaching. I think later in the season we're going to see guys like Frundell and Kanserov, ready to go. And I think making space for those guys in this roster, I think for me is more important. Like I think this team is good enough. Where I don't think we necessarily have to buy from that standpoint. So yeah, I think it's more just kind of clearing way, of the kind of pieces we don't need anymore and making way for the next wave of prospects. I think that's the way I would do it. Yeah.
I agree with you, especially like Dickinson and Murphy, I think make the most sense. I think that those are like two guys we've heard there be a lot of interest in. Another possible name is Ilya Mikheyev.
I
Um,
keep Mikheyev. I
I,
extend him. Yeah.
and I think a
Yeah.
lot of people share that sentiment. My only rebuttal to that would just be like you do have other young players in the system that will be playing similar roles to Ilya Mikheyev. See Landon Slaggert, a really hard, fast checking, defensively reliable, good on the PK guy. If you extend Ilya Mikheyev, are you really going to be keeping Landon Slaggert around? Doubt from my perspective. But then for Jason Dickinson, I mean, we've seen Jason Dickinson miss games this year. We've seen other players step up. You still got Nick Foligno for the rest of the year that can play the center position in a more checking role. You've got these other young players who have been great on the PK. There's going to be a lot of interest in Jason Dickinson. I think maybe if you retain a little bit of that salary, you can get a second round pick for him, honestly. Like if a contender like I think if you're a contender and you have Jason Dickinson as your fourth line center, you've got to feel great about that. He can play. You can rely on him in any situation realistically. And so I think he's played good hockey, played valuable minutes for the Hawks this year. And so you've got guys that can step up for him. And then same thing with Connor Murphy. I think it's the obvious option with if you move Connor Murphy, then Sam Rinzel just steps into the lineup, right?
Yeah.
And plays on the right side. And then you go Crevier, Levshinov, Rinzel on the right side, six defensemen. That checks out, right? That like
Yeah.
makes sense. I don't know what you get for a Connor Murphy. I don't know what you're really looking for in return. It's
Yeah.
honestly probably
Third
it's
rounder. Yeah.
to your point though. It's probably more about making space, right, than it is
Yeah.
actually the return for these guys at this point.
Yeah, that's why I think it's more just making space, right? Like I think Renzel's been playing a lot better at Rockford. I have a hard time seeing him not finish the year at the Blackhawks uni. Like I think he's gonna be back on this team. So yeah, I think it's more just making space for the next wave of players. Like, I don't think we have to go out there and necessarily load up from that standpoint like other contending teams are gonna be doing because like we have our next pieces on the horizon. So I mean just think about the impact guys like Frendell and Katz are gonna have. Like I think that's gonna more than make up for it. So yeah, that's what I do.
I agree. I don't think you shuffle the deck too much right now. I think maybe you make a couple more roster spots available for young players. And then I think this offseason you go out and try to make a trade. And what I want to finish with here is maybe a trade proposal and get your thoughts on it. A guy we were just talking about, Jason Robertson for the Dallas Stars. He gets slighted off Team USA. He's top 5 or something in scoring right now. He's been great this year, playing some of his best hockey that we've seen. Look, man, his asking price, his contract is going to be, I think north of 11.5. Will Dallas be able to afford that? I don't know. Especially if I think it's pretty clear the path for the Dallas Stars here is like they're gonna probably play Minnesota in the first round. Maybe they win. but then the second round they're going to play Colorado. Do I see them getting to the Western Conference Finals this year? No. And it's like, you've with this team that you've had, it's been relatively disappointing. Do you really want to blow the bank on Jason Robertson? They looked to shop him last year. They didn't get an offer that they liked. We've heard that the Chicago Blackhawks were interested, did give a couple of offers to them. They didn't accept. I think maybe you go for Jason Robertson in the summer.
Whew. I mean, I like the idea, but just, man, what's that going to cost?
Tyler Bertuzzi, Oliver Moore, Florida's first and maybe 2 seconds.
You know what? I mean, I actually don't hate that.
I don't know if it's enough. I don't know if it's enough to get it done. I'd imagine that probably the reason why talks didn't go through last year is because I'd imagine Frank Nazar was involved. I'd imagine that Kyle Davidson didn't want to depart with Frank Nazar, rightfully so. But with the way Oliver Moore has played as of late,
I really like Oliver Moore, man. I think he could be such an important part of this team. But at the same time, is that a guy where it's like, I don't know if he's quite an untouchable though, right? Like, I don't think
he can't be. I don't think that, like, we can't, like, Nick Lardis, same deal. Like, look, I'm bullish on Nick Lardis. I think Nick Lardis is going to be a good scorer in the NHL. But I think when you're talking untouchables, for me, it's up front. Bedard, it's Bedard, Nazar, and Frundell.
Lev. Yeah, Frundell, like you said. That's probably it. That big four.
Like, at a certain point, like, you only have so many middle six roles. And it's like, I still think you need an elite winger for your top six. Jason Robertson has the track record. He's only 26 years old. He's very much still on schedule. He's going to be playing the prime of his career when the Blackhawks are, maybe the most exciting and still young, so relatively cheap. I think it makes sense. And so if it takes a Lardis or more type plus a first, plus a couple seconds, plus Tyler Bertuzzi, I think you do it. I think you do it because here's the thing. And like, I would love to get your take on this. I think the center position, people talk about like Blackhawks needing centers. That's the most ridiculous thing in the world to me. You need wingers. You almost have
Bedard, Nazar's our 1-2. Like, we need the pieces around him. Yeah.
Exactly. You got Bedard, Nazar as your 1-2. And even if you're a fan, you disagree with that. That's the direction the organization's going. And then you've got Ryan Green, who is a true centerman. You've got Oliver Moore, who is so clearly playing his best hockey at the center position. Almost makes you think, like, can he play wing to the level that he can play center? You've got Sasha Boisvert. You got Roman Kanserov, who also plays the center position. Anton Frundell is going to be a winger, but he also plays the center position. You've got so many guys that play the center position that it's almost like I'd be okay departing with one of these promising young centermen if it means you can, package up a couple other assets and bring in a superstar winger.
Well, I think they're going to have to anyway, because there's not going to be enough space for them. So it's like, you might as well get something pretty nice in return, right? That could kind of help you more right now as opposed to in the future, right? Like, we have so many, like we talked about, this such a large quantity of prospects that we have. Like, there's just not enough space for all of them. So I think it's figuring out who are the guys, who are the absolute core pieces that you cannot depart from. They're going to make up the identity of this team. And then, the guys, when there's not quite enough space, what assets can you get back, right now that's going to help us win right now, as opposed to, 3 years from now.
At this point, dude, it's like we're looking for quality, not quantity. We've got so many futures assets. We've got so many promising young players in the forward and the decor. You've got a ton of picks too. Like, you've got 3 second-round picks this year. You got 2 first-round picks. Why use 3 second-round picks this year? Like, are any of those guys going to actually crack the Blackhawks?
We don't need them anymore. We don't need more draft picks, man.
We don't.
The last 4 years, we've made like 11 first-round picks, like in the last 4 years. So I think we're good from that regard. Now I think it's just about getting better, and I think this team is closer to being in that contention playoff window than people realize. I think we're already very close. Like, right now, we're 3 points away from a playoff spot. Like, I think just a couple more big-time moves, and I think we're right there, man. Especially when the next wave shows up. Like, I think we're right there. I think next year you can feel pretty good about it, but probably 1 or 2 more moves need to happen before you can feel pretty good about it. Yeah.
Completely agree. I agree. Like, package these picks, package these future assets, and get some surefire things. Get some guarantees. Get some, because
it can't all be players. These young guys, right? Like, in the 2010s, like, we brought in the Hosas, and the Sharps and all that. Like, those are the guys you're going to need to help supplement that young core group of players. It can't all be that.
Yeah. And I just think like Dallas gets back Tyler Bertuzzi, his contract will be up, but he's 5.5 for one more year.
I think
Um,
Bert's got a few more years. I think because like we signed him to a
maybe,
5-year
yeah,
deal, so I think he's
maybe
got
you're right.
3
Maybe
more
like
years.
2 more years
Yeah,
on Bert's
yeah, something like
contract.
that. Like, I love
Like,
Bertuzzi, but like he's having a career year right now. Like, I don't think he's going to have another year like this. So I think if like I like Bert, but I don't see him as like a guy that's like needs to be here for the long haul. I think
and then
right. Yeah,
no,
sorry.
go ahead, finish that
I
thought.
think right now Bert's value is as high as it will
Yeah,
ever be.
sell
So
high.
take advantage of it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sell high, and then like Oliver Moore's still on a rookie deal, and then that gives cap relief to the Dallas Stars. It gives you give them a few picks, gives them if anything more assets to trade and deal. I don't know. I think it would entice me. It would entice me, and
You're
I
gonna
think it
have
would
to
be.
make sacrifices, man. Like I think that's a thing. Like you kind of fall in love with these prospects, and and it sucks. Like, cause I really like Oliver Moore, not just for his on ice play, but off the ice as well. Like
The
I love the
personality.
personality of the kid and what he brings to the room. But like if you want to win in this league, like you're gonna have to make tough decisions. So obviously you could find a way to keep around, do it. But like if you're gonna bring in those star elite players, like yeah, you're gonna have to make some tough decisions. So that's a part of
I
the game. It's a
I
business. It's a
agree.
business. Yeah,
I agree, dude.
yeah,
I agree. And I
yeah.
think it should start happening this summer, early this summer before the draft, but we will see. All right. I think that's pretty much it. We're just over 40 minutes. Everyone, if you enjoyed this video, please do us a favor and like it and subscribe to our channels. We're going to be doing these podcasts more often together. We're also going to be doing post games together when we can. So subscribe to us for those. And then also, please, again, in the comments, let us know what you want us to be calling these little podcasts that we do together. We don't have a name yet. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Justin, anything else to say, or you got everything off your chest?
Let's see. Who's the Shanghai Dragon of the podcast today? Last time it was Sam Lafferty. I don't know if he's
Hmm.
played a game since then. I think Andre Burakovsky for missing that wide open net in overtime yesterday. He's by Shanghai Dragon of
Dude,
the
he
podcast.
skates past plays too often. It pisses me off. Like
Like
that
slam
play
on
in
the
overtime.
brakes. Yeah.
Why is he like stop at the net? Why is he like skating through it? If he stops at the net, it's an easy tap in. Just like, and he does it all the time. He does it
Yeah.
defensively too. Like he skates past pucks all the time and it grinds my gears. It's like, we know you're fast, bro. You got to stop more. Like I know like offensive players that have good speed, they like to keep their momentum. They like to, continue skating. But dude, you got to stop on more plays.
Those
All right.
Euros, man, that's their play style.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Shanghai Dragon, Andre Burakovsky. All right. We will see you guys in the next one. Have a good day and go Blackhawks.
Absolute cinema.